Okay, starting again, I'm sorry. Hi John, we're in Whiskey Live Paris here, where you have a stand presenting your Myth and Legend series as well as the core range. I thought we were at the dawn of your 20th anniversary, so I know it's a tough question, but in a few phrases, how would you say you look back at your almost 20 years of working and blending?
Almost 20 years, 19 years this year, 20 years next year. I'd like to think that we have made a difference in the Scotch whisky industry, a small difference. I'd like to think that we've shown people that you can challenge the boundaries.
Yeah.
If your intent is
Of
right.
course.
If your intent is to make better whiskeys and to bring more people into the world of Scotch
Sure.
whiskey. I'd like to think we've made a difference.
Okay. What is to expect in terms of new releases for the anniversary? Just a teaser for the audience.
Well, nothing is ready yet, but we are working on a bunch of different things.
Okay, but yeah, there's gonna be something special, obviously.
There's always something special.
Okay. When you started with your hedonism back in 2000, you invented a new category of whiskey, but at the same time contributed to highlight a category, the grain whiskey, which is often overlooked by the majority of consumers as well as the whiskey industry, who mainly uses the grain as anonymous but main ingredient of blended whiskey. So now we can see grain whiskey prosper a bit more through indie companies as well as very shyly few official bottlings. I'm thinking of Gervan here. How do you see the future when you see all these companies, even outside of UK, now they tend to lead the way to innovation about grain? What's your thoughts about
I
it?
think we will continue to see more and more grain whiskey bottlings and more interest in Scotch grain whiskey. And I think that will be as long as the bottlers and the distilling companies who are selling grain whiskies are selling interesting grain whiskies. One of the things about Scotch grain whiskey is it needs to be aged in good casks for it to develop flavors.
To shine through, yeah.
Aging grain whiskey in refill casks, I argue, you don't get terribly interesting product.
Yeah.
So as long as everybody continues who's bottling interesting stuff, interesting Scotch grain whiskey is going to grow.
Okay.
I also think that I think long term, and this is, I'll just plant this seed. It's for another day, but there are things you can do in distillation with grain whiskey to make more interesting product. That's a long term.
Sure. Okay. Shortly about the myth and legends. You have a masterclass I'm gonna follow, so we're not gonna tell so much things, but just a few basic things about the legend.
Myths and legends. Yeah, I wanted to do this as a series, a range of 3 products. We wanted to release some delicious whiskeys, and we had some great parcels of some really lovely single malt whiskeys that we wanted to put together. But we also wanted to show people that even with single malts, there's even blending with single malts. And so we're showing, the first Myths and Legends is malt whiskey built around, it's all from the Paul Blair distillery, but we've got different parcels, different ages and different cask types that we blended to create our own expression of that distillery. Same with the second one, which is all malt whiskeys from the Glenelgan distillery. With that one, it's interesting. We're blending different parcels, different ages and cask types, but we're also showing people that regionality doesn't really exist in Scotch whisky the way people think.
Yeah, the question of terroir is sensitive.
It's not terroir in the same sense as it is for wine. So we've got this lovely single malt with almost some tropical fruit notes, and people don't associate that with where it comes from in Speyside. And then the third one, in Myths and Legends, the third whiskey is actually a blended based on the second one.
Well, it's known that you have some favorite distilleries, such as Clynelish, like you like to play with. But how do you look at more recent distilleries and the boom in small Scottish or even English craft distilleries? Let's say Worthburn, Glasgow Distillery, Kingsbarn, Lindor, even Bimber. I tried Bimber yesterday; it was fantastic.
fantastic.
Would you use them maybe in the future? It's a sensitive question.
I don't know. We never say never. I think that a lot of the young distilleries are still trying to find their feet and figure out stylistically what they are going to be producing over the years. But I think, generally, to answer your question, it's great. It's fantastic. When I started Compass Box 19 years ago, this is exactly what I wanted to see in Scotch whiskey, and whiskey generally, is more small companies, more entrepreneurs, more independent distillers making whiskey.
Thank you. I'm going to shorten the next question because we're running out of time. Was basically, are you still in the same state of spirit when I asked you years ago about would you now still thinking of building or buying a small distillery to provide your stocks, or it is not a question
it's
now?
It's not something that we're looking at right now.
Okay.
We looked at it years ago.
Yeah, I know.
I'm very happy being a blender.
Okay.
Being distilling and having managing a distillery is a different kind of business than we're in.
No, I know. You know why I asked, sorry to interrupt you, why I asked that is because I saw many indie bottling companies now building a distillery. Douglas Lang, Hunter Lang, etc.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
was
for them.
But they're huge. Maybe they. Okay. You're known for pushing the boundaries of cask experiment with Spice Tree, Oak Cross, to name a few. How do you see the recent surprising change about the new casks type the SWE allowed to use now, such as tequila? What are your thoughts about that? And do you think this new cask type can be developed other than these ones, or this one? Question of toasting, charring the barrels, or even other question people would never think of.
I think it's good news that the Scotch Whisky Association, on behalf of their members, is being open-minded about new possibilities.
Sure.
In this case, for cask maturation. I think that's good news. Will they allow further types of casks in the future? Who knows?
Okay.
I couldn't predict.
One of the last questions. Last Friday, I received for a live stream on my YouTube channel, Don Livermore, master blenders from Hiram Walker Sons, who has a very scientific approach of blending. I think you have a rather intuitive or creative approach of blending. So both you are knowledgeable in making whiskey, but I think you know what I mean. He's a scientific 100%. You're not, but you have worked in whiskey industry before, so you know what you're doing. But my point is, I couldn't gather you both, but I think you have things to exchange about blending. It's my guess. So I asked him a question about your whiskies and was very positive about it. I tried some of it. You're gonna see in the video. On your side, I know you've tasted less, but what do you think of his approach of trying to explain people about technicality of whiskey, and how, for instance, he said yesterday the yeast for him is more important than the cask, which surprised me a lot. What just basic thoughts of yours about it, please?
I've met Don several times over the years, and I read about his work and the way his approach to work, and I have huge respect for the man. I would love to have that kind of expertise and that kind of questioning approach, and that kind of drive to make ever greater whiskey. In our business, one day maybe we'll have someone like Don. I mean, he's really legend, and I love to read about what he's doing, because I
hope to gather you in the future someday. Who knows?
I would love that. Yeah.
Okay, last question, and again, thank you so much for this interview in advance. Do you ever thought of experimenting and releasing a world blended whiskey? It's a question that interests me a lot. World blended whiskey, that is whiskies from a lot of countries, different cask type, different traditions.
Well, we've looked at that. We have done some of that over the years. We have worked to experiment with blending different types of whiskies from different countries. We never, the whiskies we were able to get from outside Scotland, were able to come up with anything that was really, truly compelling to us.
Oh, okay.
We were open to it.
So maybe it's a question of source, you mean, for the moment?
I suppose it's a question of source. It's also a question of for me, it's got to really be compelling stuff. It's not just let's just do it because it's fun and
Yeah,
people
yeah,
will be interested.
of course.
It's a novelty. And I think a good example of what I mean is Affinity, the bottling we just released.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I
Bottling.
forgot. Sorry, I forgot
Scotch
about this.
whiskey and Calvados.
This is one, but yeah,
Yeah,
this
with
is not whiskey.
It's not
Whiskey
it's,
mixed
it's
with
apple brandy from
yeah, a
famous-
spirit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
very
called
interesting
Calvados.
one.
And we did it. I've been blending those together for years, and finally
Yeah, that's what
decided
I
wanted
discovered,
to
yeah.
bottle it because it's delicious.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you're using great Calvados, like we're sourcing from Dom and Christian.
So yeah, maybe can we say it's a first step in that direction? That's
You
not
never know.
mandatory,
You
but
never know.
okay. Thank you so much and have a great live, John. Bye.